Yes, sir. It is I, your boy from Bed-Stuy, and I greatly appreciate everybody tuning in for Don't F Up the Crime Scene, where me, special guests, will tune in and talk about our experiences on crime scenes and how to mess up the case. All right? So sit back and enjoy and holler back at your boy. Holla. How's everybody going? This is Katie Hurst, aka Dude, and I have a special guest, a colleague, a professor. He is the bomb. I've been knowing him for a few years. I always admired him from afar. Got to meet him a few years when I took a contract back in the day with HSUS. He's awesome. We're talking about the world-renowned cockfighter investigator, the best cruelty investigator of all times, Eric Sakach. And we're going to go. Eric, welcome to the show. Don't fuck up the crime scene. How's it going?
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Oh, I'm good, brother. I'm good. Again, I appreciate you coming up, getting on the show, and it's early. In Sacramento?
Yes, not a problem.
Yeah. I appreciate it. And so, again, everybody knows you. You're a household name. I remember the first time meeting you in person. It was an honor. I was like, damn. I mean, I saw the aura and the glow around you. You know what I'm saying?
You're very kind.
I was like, okay. But now that you're retired and everything, how's everything been going? Outside of investigating, you still teach, or what's going on?
Yeah, still teaching, doing a little consulting work as well, just to keep my fingers in things. I've got a number of trials that are still pending, and I'll be a witness and testifying in those cases if they don't plead. But beyond that, I'm enjoying retirement. It's nice to be able to get some balance in my life and start trying to get some of those images from the career out of my head.
I know. When did it start becoming normal to you to see the images? Because, I'm a workaholic. I worked in Georgia for so long, and now I'm up here in D.C. I work in Maryland, ACOing. But when did it become, matter of fact, has it become normalized? Have you, build up a tough skin of the images and all types of things you've seen?
No, I think anytime you become somewhat inured to some of the really awful things that people do to animals and to their other people, anytime you become insensitive to that, there's a problem. So it's always bothered me to see when those images become too much to bear, or they start creeping into your dreams at night. It's just about keeping yourself sane.
Yeah.
So I think the same thing that happens with most people involved in any sort of rescue work, animal protection, human interventions, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think Cheryl Ann up in, she's Connecticut, and she goes back and forth to Virginia. Cheryl Ann is one of the people I talk to for as burnout or compassion fatigue. And she does a whole bunch of seminars and what have you, and she's really good at it. I've seen so much over the years that I just process it a little different because I see it on a daily basis, and I'm like have to get through it, and it's almost like a homicide. Sometimes you get a little numb, and then you're like, okay, how do I work through stuff like that? Because so my son, he is a former police officer. He works for the medical examiner's office now, and we talk about no cases, no active cases, but we talk about forensics. Because one of my mentors is Dr. Merck, and I just talk about bugs. Me and him talk about bugs and all types of weird stuff that everybody feels like that's crazy, but it's part of our field, and we gain so much knowledge on that. As far as doing on your cockfighting raids and HSUS days and everything, did you have to bring the forensics in and stuff like that?
Well, Well, yeah, we did, and as basic as it was back in the day, I mean, I was with HSUS for 44 years, so going back to the mid-'70s, and forensics in the '70s meant something a little bit different than it does today.
Okay.
If you know what I mean. It was very basic. We still had all the same requirements as far as search warrants are concerned,
Mm-hmm.
and preserving and maintaining the integrity of your scene, but forensically, it was very basic what we would pick up and how we would document it. Nowadays, with the ability to have a veterinarian on site and have a post done or field autopsy or necropsy is extraordinary. And we've had, in recent cases that I was involved with that involved thousands of birds, we had teams of veterinarians on scene who examined living and dead birds on scene, and those birds that were intact and preserved enough to be able to do a necropsy or partial field necropsy gave us a lot of information, especially on diseases that the birds had. So things have changed quite a bit.
I worked a case before I left Georgia in 2015 or 2016 where we had like 500 birds. Very difficult. Very, very difficult. It was a house. It was on the news, stuff like that, so it's public record. And, I'm a big guy, and I believe in staging. I believe in, having everybody coordinate. And, sometimes, my former sergeant used to like, dude, I'm like, I like to have stuff right. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Because,
you know what? There are some times when it's fine to be a control freak. That is absolutely one of them. I'm the same way. I like to make sure there's an order to everything, and that way I feel confident when I leave and clear a scene that when I go to court, that I'm not going to have any problem discussing what happened and in what order.
And I really enjoy you said clear a scene, because people don't understand when you go on a scene, there's a lot of things that go on, and you slow everything down, but at the same time, there's a lot of things, a lot of moving parts. You have individuals should be there, individuals who should not be there.
Yep.
And how do you control that?
Deep breath.
Yeah.
Take a deep breath and count off everything you've got to do.
I really appreciate you saying that, because I tell people, it's DFUTCS. It's try your best not to fuck up the crime scene. And I made that the name of the podcast because I have messed up. And the thing is, you mess up as you go along, and you try not to mess up the next one. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. And I think for a lot of investigators early on, messing up is to be expected. But make sure if you do mess up that you discover it and try to correct it before you leave that crime scene.
Right.
Mistakes are human. Human beings make mistakes. But when you're talking about something as important as a crime scene, it's really important that when you do your clearance brief with your teams before you actually leave the scene, you've gone all A to Z. And if something was done improperly, go back and do it right before you leave, because you're not going to get that second chance once you're gone.
Right, because trying to get a second warrant can be difficult. It can be difficult. You know what I'm saying? And people, what's up, sorry? Investigators, humane law enforcement officers, ACOs, ACIs, again, because what we're seeing now is a lot of ACOs don't have the support, don't have the training, and then, they're not even able to become ACIs, animal cruelty investigators, but they are. And then you have humane law enforcement officers, which is, a law enforcement officer, but that has to do the animal control work. So it's a lot. It's, the job is changed over so many years. I mean, even me being in it for 30 years now, and you, how many years you said 40? How many?
44 years.
Good Lord. So
and you know the scary thing, Kevin, is in some parts of the country, everybody is working at a very high level now. I think through increased training opportunities and whatnot. But there are some other parts of the country that are where they have not taken animal cruelty as seriously, where there's been less attention afforded to the training for animal cruelty investigators or ACOs or others, and they're still back working 5-6 decades ago.
And I see that a lot.
Yes.
I still travel. I still, I do, I work for LATI, University of Missouri, and I do my own thing, big time speakers. But I see it where you have some officers who still don't have a radio. Is that crazy?
I mean, what?
You know what I'm saying?
What are you supposed to do in those situations?
And
it gives you an idea of how much support you're going to get when you go to court.
It's
you're still going to be held to the same high standard that a regular law enforcement officer is.
What and trying to get out of, I mean, this me and you talking, trying to get some ACOs to understand they're not a dog catcher, dude. It is difficult because wherever they are, they're treated like a dog catcher, and I find that word or that term offensive to me. I do my best to woosah now. I'm okay. I'm a lot older, a lot of therapy. I don't pimp slap people for calling me a dog catcher anymore. I'm okay, Eric. But back in the day, seriously, back in the day, I'm like this. What? I will pimp slap your ass in the next week. But now I do my best to try to educate. One of my mantras, one thing I would say, you want to educate the person, investigate the person, and eliminate the problem. You want to go out there and educate them if they don't know. A lot of people don't know the basics of owning an animal.
That's, and really, when you think about it, an animal cruelty investigator or an ACO is really wearing a number of different hats. The law enforcement aspect is just one, and I have always tried to impress upon students in my classes that the bigger hat is the role of an educator. If you can educate somebody, you develop those sorts of comments and attitudes and see opportunities for training or educating someone. That helps get rid of that problem permanently. If we have to constantly cite somebody, that's really a failure in a lot of ways because it means they haven't learned. And if we can take some time to educate them in the field about why it is what they're doing is wrong or why it's against the law, and how they can be a better citizen, be a better neighbor, and certainly a more humane person by spending on that extra time with them and showing them how to do things correctly, that person's not going to be a perennial problem.
I tell people, and one of my guys in St. Louis, he wrote it down because he said, educate, investigate, eliminate. I said, you want to eliminate the problem. This is the reason why, somebody called on the other person because it's creating a problem for them, And the thing is, I want to do is introduce myself and be cordial as possible and, establish rapport if possible. And de-escalate if possible, and then move on. You know what I'm saying? And it's, verbal judo is real. My boy Dan, Dustin, a few of my boys, we talk about it because you try to meet people on their level and try your best not to talk down to them, And, in uniform, you have an officer, command, stuff like that. You have officer presence. But if you can meet them, because they understand you have a job to do in the back of their head, and you try to talk to them, say, okay, what's the problem? How serious is the problem? And what are we going to do about the problem? If they can see it's a problem. You know what I'm saying? And it can be difficult. It can.
Yeah, absolutely can. And the main thing for the officer is to be able to differentiate between when it's a matter of ignorance that's correctable, and when it's a matter of something that is more malicious.
Yes, yes. And
Malicious acts are not going to be an education issue.
Right. And like I said, when I go out and everything, okay, how do I resolve the problem? What's the best way? And I'm pretty much, I'm so regular now, where I was like Lord Vader before, and it's a different. And I guess me getting older, I have, I don't know, more compassion. I don't know. But as I've gotten older, and maybe my reflexes, I'm not, a big man on campus no more. I got over myself. I got over my ego. You know what I'm saying? We talking. You get over yourself at some point. You're like, okay. And then when you have a significant other, or you have people you can go to, a sergeant or whomever. Okay. I had an awesome major who would just bring me in and tell me about myself here and there. And she was incredible. She allowed me to be myself at the same time. Check me. And sometimes you need a mentor. Who, essentially talking, did you have a mentor doing this, or did you create other people to help you out?
I think I had one of the best mentors that anybody could ever ask for. His name was Franz Vansler. He was HSUS chief investigator. Okay. Years, and much almost like a big brother. And he really looked out for us, for all of his investigators. But I was fortunate to work under him for most of my early on years. And he passed away about 20 years ago. But I miss him very much. But he was excellent as far as mentoring me and enforcement issues, also with backing me up on my undercover work. So
I tell you like this: I have been fortunate to have several mentors in the field, and then be, I don't know, either stupid, ignorant, or just dumb on some calls where somebody pulled me aside, listen, dumbass. And then, I listened. I actually listened. And, it takes, don't get me wrong, when you're doing this job and you're somewhat pretty good at it, you can get kind of ego. You can get kind of a big head, you know what I'm saying? But when you have those who will point out, hey, you kind of messed up over here, in the way they do it too. And that sometimes doesn't damage your ego and everything. And then, you have to be humble enough. And I always say, stay humble, don't stumble. Because when you fall off the horse, you know what I'm saying? When you fall, it's a long way down. And doing this job, it's you create a lot of friends and enemies doing this job, because people like you, some people like to hate you. And I had to deal with a lot of hate at one time, which I didn't get. I'm like, huh? So now, when I was, if I'm mentoring somebody, or I have my dude and dudettes, I do my best to listen, check yourself, make sure you're doing everything by the book. I'm a big SOP guy. I'm very bendable. I'm not breakable. So I will flex and Eric. I will flex and bend the real rules if possible, but I can't break them. You know what I'm saying?
That's exactly right.
And a lot of people okay, okay, but I try to work. All right, so let's get into a few questions real quick I got for you. Since you're retired, I'm going to ask you some, formal questions. What was the best thing about your job?
Boy, there are a lot of answers to that. I could say meeting the people that I met, or the job afforded me the ability to meet. I had some wonderful friends that I met, and still have many good friends within the organizations and others out there. But I also got to meet people like Diane Fossey, Jane Goodall.
I know Jane.
So those things were just extra special. I also made very, very good friends in the law enforcement community, prosecutors, and judges over the years, many of whom are still we're still in touch, and many of whom have also retired, and we still get together periodically and share war stories and whatnot. But that's a benefit. I think that's among the things that made the job worth it. The other part of it is when I was a teenager, and actually going back into my childhood, the things that really got me upset when I was a kid were kids that were kicking dogs or picking, bullying other kids because they were different or weak. And I always knew that I wanted to be able to do something to intervene in those kinds of situations. And when I was a kid, I would just get into a fight. If some kids were bullying another kid or hurting an animal, I'd just jump into it. But you realize that eventually you can't go through life getting involved in fisticuffs when you do that sort of stuff. And having this job afforded me the ability to intervene in a legal way, and I think that helped keep me sane.
So you're originally from California?
No, I grew up in Nevada.
Okay.
I was a University of Nevada kid at Reno. I was born in California, in Irvine.
Okay.
But raised in Reno, and then we lived in Alaska for 3 years, and then.
Okay. What part of Alaska?
Anchorage.
Okay. I went up there twice. Went up there twice to teach. It's a little different.
I enjoyed it. I've been up there several times. In fact, I talked at their national sex abuse conference a few years ago. So I like Alaska. I don't want to live up there again.
Yeah. Well, me going up there a few years back, they had me up there for a few conferences, and I flew into, when you're flying. For me, I think I flew. It wasn't direct, so I think I Chicago maybe or Denver. I don't know. I had layover. And then when you're flying and you look at the little map, the little map you have on the screen, and you see all this ice, all this white stuff, I'm like, God damn, Eric, they will not find you if you go down.
No, it looks like an ocean of.
Yes.
It looks like an ocean of whitecaps, and it just goes on and on and on, stretches forever.
I was like, yeah, because for my first time going to Hawaii, I was like, yeah, they won't find us if we go down. And when you're flying, you're not thinking about it, because you enjoying a movie that you're watching or the cocktail, right? And you're like, and then you're like, God damn, we've been in the air for a long time. You're hoping the calculations and the calculus that the pilot makes sure the fuel reserves are there, right? Because you're like, what in the heck? They won't find you. They will not find you. Okay, so it kind of freaked me out. But I've been to Alaska like twice, and I enjoy my time. It's a little different, getting used to either dark or light. It's a little different. And you need to have room darkening, shades. But all right. Next question I got for you. What is your favorite movie or book?
Oh gosh, favorite movie or book? Well, I read a lot now for pleasure. But the books that I've read that I really like was Dominion was one. I like books on history, especially World War II and that period. So, In the Garden of Beasts is one that I like. Other than that,
because a lot of people.
Movies. Let's see. Recent movies that I really enjoyed. Elvis.
Oh, the new one. The new one.
Yeah, the new one. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. You watch Maverick yet? Top Gun?
Yeah, I did see the Maverick too,
Yeah.
and my wife was probably more impressed with it than I was. It's a testosterone movie with lots of noise.
Yeah, blow up stuff and hot guys. I know.
Yeah. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's
nice.
I'm a Tarantino fan, so I
nice.
really enjoyed that.
Nice.
So then, that's it. I'm not talking anymore.
10-4. We'll move on.
Yeah, we'll move on.
All right. Your most interesting case that you ever had? Because I know you had hundreds, if not thousands.
We could put those into categories. Really, there's animal fighting cases, dog fighting subheading, cockfighting subheading. There's hoarder cases.
You can take all my hoarder cases. I'm done.
Yeah, hoarding cases are the ones that I dislike the most. I like hoarding cases now. But those are the kinds of cases that the smell is still in your nose.
Dude.
6 months later.
Dude.
You can't get rid of it, and it seems to creep back when you're having dinner at times. And you burn those clothes, so you're trying to figure out what the hell. As far as hoarding cases, I would say one of my first hoarding cases was a case down in San Bernardino in the late 70s. And the woman who ran this operation was widowed. I was called down by the City Animal Control Department to assist them. And we decided the best way for us to figure out what was going on. They had received a lot of complaints about it, but couldn't get on the property. She didn't like uniforms. So I went down and dressed the part of a businessman who was in that area. And I had heard that this was the cover story. And I told her that I had heard that she adopted dogs and cats, and my daughter's birthday was coming up soon, and I wanted to get an animal for her, and take it back with me. And that seemed to open her up. So she agreed to let me into her property, which was several acres. And so I drove over to her property and got out. She opened the gate for me. I went under the property. I had a camera with me, but it was hidden. And she had a walker, and so she just kind of pointed me in the direction of where things were. She had about 140 animals altogether. Dogs, cats. Cats were in these buildings that were catteries, were set up as catteries. And there were cats visibly cannibalizing other cats. There were dogs that were nothing but bones, literally had passed away, and their carcass with bones poking through were still in the pens. She had monkeys, and at the back of her facility, I came to a large round cage, and inside was a black bear.
What?
And it turned out that this black bear, I don't know if you remember a TV show from the 60s, the Beverly Hillbillies.
Yeah.
Well, that black bear was the bear that Ellie Clampett had.
No way.
Yeah. The animal trainer that owned that bear, after the series ended, left the bear to this woman, and it was living in this circular cage with a bathtub that the water was literally black, and subsisting on a diet of loaves of bread. In any case, when she wasn't looking, I would take pictures very quickly and then hide the camera again. And when I got off, I told her I was interested in getting a dog, and I'd go get some money from the bank and come back.
Mm-hmm.
And I left the property. Went back, met with animal control. We called the Department of Fish and Wildlife because of the monkeys and the bear. And I met with all of the officers. We had a briefing that afternoon, and the next morning we had our search warrant. We went out and took the place apart, got all the animals out. So that was probably the most interesting hoarding case that I've had.
You know, my thing is, I think you hit on a few things. A rapport, how you gain confidence, how you went in and did your job. You know what I'm saying? You wasn't judgmental. You know, you acting interested, and there's a lot of things I think a lot of investigators can learn. ACOs, Humane law enforcement can learn how you befriend a person, go in and do your job. You know what I'm saying? And to see that much of poor conditions, unsanitary conditions, and then to find a bear. I mean, we're talking. How did that work in your brain? I mean, you go in there for whatever, but you see a bear. How did that? I mean, what did you say to yourself? How did you not get out of?
You stay, number one, you stay focused on what your objective is.
Okay.
And the objective is to document and get enough information so that you can go back and articulate what you need to for a search warrant.
Right.
Put that affidavit together and make sure it's accurate, and you got some photographs to back it up. And none of those things was an issue since she had gone ahead and invited me on the property.
Right.
And we actually have a district attorney that came out with us on the case, so it was about as picture perfect as it could get. My concern over the animals was well founded, as was animal control's concern, and even the Fish and Wildlife warden that came out and then brought a team to remove the monkeys and the bear. They were aghast at how bad those conditions were. At the same time, we called in Adult Protective Services. It was called something different back then, but this woman's house was a total mess. I don't think the toilets had been usable or flushable for a considerable period of time. Her health was obviously a concern as well. So it was a matter of, this wasn't the case where I was looking forward to prosecuting her, but getting her out of that situation so that it can discontinue for her own good and for the welfare of the animals. And other, obviously, where hoarding cases where prosecution was warranted, and I would say in most cases it is, not because you necessarily want to put a hoarder in prison for years, but because you need to be able to. I mean, you can have them found guilty and make a recommendation that they avoid jail time. That part of the sentence be suspended as long as they are seeking help and they're not in charge or having any control or possession of animals. But the prosecution is necessary just to make sure they understand the seriousness of what it is they're charged with.
I look at it like I had one case, nothing like that. I had a case where we went in, we talked to the person, and it depends on who can befriend and get in, and then we let that person work with the person. We don't have 2-3 people. We have one person just talk to the person and work it out. But we went into a house where they were breeding dogs. It was shepherds. Okay, so you have dominant, recessive, and the more time you have inbreeding, you have more recessive genes. You have ultimate dominant genes, but you have more recessive genes. So I'm like, I get in there. They had dogs in closets. It was horrible. It was a horror show. But they had, I guess somebody they thought that died. Okay, this is going to sound crazy. Okay, Eric, stay with me. They thought the person had died. So I'm already telling you the ending. So they, as an elderly person, they never changed the person, never, cared for the person. instead of changing the person, helping them, with scraping and stuff like that, they just put newspaper on them. So they became like a human paper mache. So they thought the person died. All right. So they called EMS and everything. It was crazy. It was really crazy, right? So while we seizing all these German shepherds out of closets and stuff like that, and they're all inbred, so they're crazy. Okay. So we dealing with that, and then they wheel the person out, on a stretcher, and then the person, I'm not making this up. He is totally alive. He's asleep, and they can't get a heartbeat. They can't get a heartbeat because of how thick the callus or the paper mache, on his body, right? So when he gets inside the ambulance and started like waking up, it was like a zombie, right? It was the weirdest thing ever, right? And I can't get that out of my head. Or sometimes when I go to, I went to a house one time, I don't, it was a wildlife call, I don't know what it was. And they had, like a hospital bed inside, like the living room, right? And hospital beds are huge. And the guy was, I don't know, he was alive, but his eyes was following me. You know how you look at the picture and you think the picture or the painting is following you, It was one of those, you know what I'm saying. So I was looking at him, and his feet and his hands were curled up in like a grabbing motion. His feet were, right? So I never seen nothing like this, right? So I'm there to get Fluffy out. I don't know what Fluffy is, right? But I had to walk past him, and his eyes are following me, right? And I'm like, I thought he was a corpse, right? And he's just looking at me, and I stopped. He stopped, and I walked that. I said, he's alive. That they had an IV drip on him like that. When you go to some people's homes, past tense, how do you deal with their inhumane conditions of living? Like you said, with the water, with the women with no toilet. How do you deal with that in your brain?
Well, when you talk about a horror show, that is certainly it. I look at it as, again, what's my objective? My objective is to get those animals out of that situation as quickly as possible, using every legal means possible. And I know I don't have to be a psychologist in each of these cases. I can certainly use my better judgment and my experience to come up with some theories about what's wrong with that person and why they allowed this to occur. But the bottom line is, all I need to do is document that it is occurring, that it has occurred, and we need to do something about it. And then we'll let the psychologists that come into court deal with the other aspects of that.
Doing this job, it takes a lot of restraint. Do you ever? For me, I'm a robot. Do you ever get emotional? And this okay. So well, with my listeners and my dudettes and stuff like that, my peeps out there like that, I want y'all to focus on what Eric's saying. He kept saying focus, 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 and I'm seriously, dude. I'm in awe of how you stay in character, stay on meeting. I call it ABC. Always be closing. Okay. Everything you've said in our conversation, you're still trying to meet your goal. What is the goal? And I think some investigators, some officers get distracted, stuff like that. How do you channel your emotions?
Well, look, fear certainly comes into play.
Okay.
And that's nothing to be ashamed of. Matter of fact, that's one of the things that helps keep you healthy and alive. You've got a gut, and you really need to understand it and read it, because if it's telling you something is seriously amiss, listen to it and take the appropriate action. I worked undercover for many years, especially under fronts, Dan Slater, my chief investigator. I attended well over 100 cockfights, about a dozen dogfighting operations, and in each of those, fear played a role. Fear of being found out,
Mm-hmm.
and that helps keep you focused. But it also helps you notice things, and you need to understand that in an undercover situation, your gut may be telling you, this is wrong, get out of here, this is, really foreign. But, that's one thing, and you need to understand that, you are in the thing in a situation that is not something you're used to. But if your gut starts telling you, these guys think, they're pulling something else on you, they're looking to screw you over or hurt you,
Mm-hmm.
then figure out, what your exit is. Unfortunately, in most situations, we were able to get through it without any real problem. But I think maybe the larger question you're asking is, how do you deal with that on an ongoing basis? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
in your day-to-day life, when things are back to normal, or you're with your family.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I would say probably every 6 months or so, after, especially my longest deep cover operation was 3.5 months, and I had a phony job working as our secretary in our office. Her mom owned a car wash at that time, and we were able to get installed at that car wash.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my job, according to my cover, and that's where I met the bad guys. And that was a really working in a car wash is a humbling experience. But it provided me with unbelievable cover for what I was trying to infiltrate. And but at night, I go home to my family, and it was a matter of 30 minutes later, I'd really be kind of jittery
Mm-hmm.
about
Mm-hmm.
characters that I was with and the fights that I got into and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
Better yet, how did you separate that coming home? Did your wife give you time to?
yes,
Okay.
yes, my wife did give me time, and
Okay. Okay.
that was important. But more importantly, my boss gave me time,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I was able to talk to him, 24/7 about concerns or fears I had, and we could work those things out. But I really just needed, some time to bounce things off of the people that I was working with, and find some realistic footing again. I did drink heavily in those days.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm kidding here. I drank Pepto-Bismol.
Okay. I'm sorry, I got that.
I used to order Pepto-Bismol by the case. But that's inside joke that anybody involved in the business knows what I'm talking about.
10 for it.
Anyhow, I don't think it's a job that everyone would want to do or could do.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, if you're supervising, if you're with an agency where you supervise investigators who are possibly going to be pulled into that role, you want to make sure that they're able to do it. And there are classes that you can take, obviously, on working undercover. So I think the important thing is reach out. Find out who some of the people are that can help you, even if there's not a class available for you. You can always contact your police department or sheriff's department, ask to speak to some people and say involved in the gang unit or narcotics or vice. And there are usually detectives that will be willing to spend some time with you and talk to you about expectations and, what you things you might want to know.
Awesome. Hold on.
Thing,
go ahead.
make sure
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Sure. You want to make sure that you've got backup. Anytime you're on a piece of property and working in that capacity, you want to make sure that you have a team outside that will be able to cover for you.
Yeah. I talked to Terry Mills and Kyle Held back in the day. Hold on, my mic just went out. Hold on 1 second. I don't know what just happened. Okay, we're gonna keep talking because yeah. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Let me take the headphones. I don't know what happened to my mic. Let me take these off, and we're going to keep it going because these things happen. I can still hear you. You can hear me. So I remember talking to Kyle Hell and Terry Mills when they went undercover in the Missouri 500 back in the day when they busted 500 dogfight places, and it can get really scary out there. It can get extremely scary out there.
That kind of stuff can get your attention real quick.
Stuff and stuff like that. But now let's get to another question, brother, because I appreciate the time. I appreciate the time. I got lawnmowers going back, stuff like that. I got all types of things going on around. So when this episode comes out, it's gonna be hilarious because you're incredible. Don't get me wrong, but I have lawnmowers going in the background. So I will put out the best interview ever with Eric Sakach from formerly retired HSUS with a lawnmower. I'm gonna probably put that in the title so everybody understands. There's a humming noise in the back, then it goes away. All right, don't laugh at me.
Okay.
All right. Okay, I got another question for you. Favorite food to cook or eat?
Let's see. Well, I'm a vegetarian, so that doesn't mean anything to anybody else. But I would say favorite junk food would be a Carl's burger made with a peanut burger. Okay. So, yeah, that's about it.
Okay, and okay, here's a good question for you. Have you, because the name of this podcast, have you ever effed up a crime scene?
Have I ever effed up a crime scene?
I know you done thousands of them.
Well, yeah, literally hundreds. I can't say thousands, but I can say hundreds. And not to the best of my knowledge.
Oh, okay. All right, okay. So speaking on that, what is the best way not to F up a crime scene?
Know your stuff before you go on, and what the command structure is.
Cool. So you believe in ICS, instant command?
Absolutely.
I'm just asking. I'm just asking, brother, because
Well, I've been on both sides of that. As far as I've been the incident commander, low down, whatever, and you do what your assignment is. You know who to go to if you've got a question, and you follow ICS.
Okay. All right. I hope y'all hear that. Whoever's going to hear this, ICS, follow the damn rules. Stay in your lane. First of all, stay in your lane. Okay? And, okay, I got another one for you. Favorite place to visit or vacation?
Let's see.
It's a tough one.
I've been to most states. Been to Europe. Places to go. I mean, everything you Yosemite, the Pacific coast. I love the forests, the lakes, the ocean, and I like the Pacific Ocean much more than the Atlantic Ocean. So just about any place in California that doesn't involve lots of people. Although I do enjoy some places that I've taught before that I just enjoy going back to. I mean, I enjoy the hell out of San Diego. Lots of friends down in San Diego and the LA area.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy going up to Nevada, to Reno, and visiting with my daughters, both who are married and have families of their own. So, any chance we get to visit with the kids is wonderful.
Yeah, I have two grandkids, an older 12, we're gonna be 13-year-old, and a 8-month-old, and it's a different experience. You know what I'm saying? It's just different.
Yes, and if you're a grandfather, then it really,
Yeah. Well, I know I'm old now. You know what I'm saying? Eric, I try to keep it 100. I remember when my son, he was going through the academy for the police, and I came from a walk, because I don't run, I walk, right? And because I like to walk to clear my mind, and he wanted to, he's like, "Hey, what's up, old man?" He called me old man in my house, right? Yeah, I say thou shalt not. That's a commandment. You know what I'm saying, right? So so the ego came out. I said, "Oh, you want to go?" He said, "Oh, you want to go?" So I was like, "Okay, what's up?" And then before I knew it, Eric, he had me in it's an MMA thing. It's a Kimura where he's about to break my arm, right? And only thing Eric, I almost tapped out, right? But he didn't count on one thing. He did not count on one thing. It's called old man strength. We don't have it. We don't have it for long, Eric. Okay. But we have it for maybe about 5-6 seconds, and he even heard the Rocky music, right? And I got him, and I choked him out, right? I mean, I put a naked choke on him, which you're not supposed to do now, okay? And I choked him out. He was tapping, and I wouldn't let go, right? Because I was like, whose house? My house. Whose house? My house. I was like,
I brought you into this world.
And I'll take your...
You read me, Denzel?
So, Eric, you understand, right?
Yes, sir.
So with girls, because I have a girl too. So you only have girls?
I only have girls too.
So, what was the moment where your girls lost their mind and challenged you? I know this is 16. It's right, 14, 18, something like that. So there's many years ago. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think my both daughters were adept at getting into accidents.
Okay.
Cars and my youngest daughter she had a Suzuki Samurai.
Okay.
Then, thank God, because she bumped into just about everything on that. My oldest daughter was working at a radio station over in Ely, Nevada, and she's a teacher now, but on her way home from work one morning, early in the morning, she rolled her truck down a hill, and those things scare the hell out of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anywhere.
And things get better. Things get better. All right,
They do. And the funny thing is both my daughters now, they'll start telling me stories about things that they did that I didn't know about.
I know.
I don't want to hear anymore.
La 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 la.
That's right.
What you call it? All right, next question. Are you or were you a great teammate?
A great teammate?
Yes.
I'm going to use the same answer I used for the last one.
Okay.
Nobody ever tried to kick my ass. Nobody ever said we don't want you on our team.
Okay.
So, and those teams that we put together on the prompt, that were without other co-workers. For instance, teams that you put together made up of ACOs, police officers, whatnot, for a particular case.
Mm-hmm.
Where people didn't know each other prior to that, we learned how to get along pretty quick, and had some laughs and enjoyed our time doing that kind of stuff. And like I say, I made a lot of friends that way over the years, and many of those people I'm still in touch with, and I still hear from. To the best of my knowledge, I think I was a good team player. I'm certainly not of the mind that you can go it alone. We need to rely on others and their expertise and their experience as much as they rely on us. And so I appreciate whatever other members of the team bring to the table.
When I used to have roll calls, I would I said there was a CC. I got interviewed for a podcast, a Code Enforcement podcast, a few months ago. I said I don't need to be the be all end all. Now I bring a lot to the table, but I used to have my my roll calls. I say, hey, anybody had a brain fart from yesterday? They need to follow up, because people forget, because there's so much that happens. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not gonna beat you over the head. I just need to make sure we current. And somebody said, yeah, I forgot this soup, or I forgot this, hers. I'm like, all right, cool. And we keep it moving. You know what I'm saying?
It's all about respect.
It really is.
Everybody the respect you want in return, and 99.9% of the time, that's going to be the way it works out.
And then at the end of the conversation or the meeting, I would say, has anybody want to introduce anything, stuff like that? Because every day. This was like 3 times a week whenever I was supervisor. I would give them an opportunity to say, hey, what do you think about this, or what do you want to introduce? Because again, I don't need to come up with my ideas. It can be whoever's ideas, as long as it works. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of our bosses need to become better leaders and take a page out of the book of listen to their subordinates. I think it's a good thing like this, because say you go on a case and you used to doing an A, B, C, always be closing, but there's actually a D or E can make it better, but that you can't see because you're always A, B, C. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And then the person says, well, this might be, whatever. I'm like, oh, okay. You know what I'm saying? I do my best to get over me, to get out of my way most of the time. I'm like, okay. And that's why I don't mind delegating. I actually enjoy delegating and watching over and supervising from afar. I try to give my whoever it is, I try to give them. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
More difficult things for a lot of people who are new to that position of leadership. It's hard for them to do. It's difficult for them to give up doing some things and delegate.
Mm-hmm.
So it really, I think that's normal to begin with, but once you learn and can accept, that number one, all of your teammates come with different passions and talents and abilities and experience, and your job really is to kind of flesh those things out and understand where they're coming from, mm-hmm. and how best use their resources. Mm-hmm. That will go a long way, because it takes a lot of the load off of your shoulders in these sorts of cases. If you've picked good people and they're doing the job right, you can breathe a lot easier, and it'll make that end of briefing, end of operation briefing, go a lot smoother.
The thing is, everybody should know their role, and relish and do it right. I'm a big promoter of praising outside and disciplining inside. So if I have to discipline you, the door is closed. Okay, mm-hmm. I might lose my goddamn mind, but the door is closed. But for us praising, outside and often if I can, because a lot of people need acknowledgement that they did a good job.
Yes.
You know, again, this is becoming from being a boss to being a leader. It's a big gap sometimes. You know.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Well, everybody likes to hear that they've done a good job too. So, you know, that's just part of the respect deal. It's not being patronizing or anything. If people are doing a seriously good job at whatever the task is, let them know it, because it's 1,000% easier to say good job or give them an attaboy. Is to go back and try to correct something.
You know, I'm a big attaboy, attagirl guy. I'm big on putting stuff in your file because we have to do in-house or evals and stuff like that. You want some good things instead of some bad things. You know what I'm saying? And I, for the most part, if I have a team, I'm like, hey, let's handle business, and we're good. And they're like, all right. What I saw when I was in Atlanta, because I went to go teach a lot, and what got me was they would do their best when I'm not there. It was crazy. It was like they didn't want to disappoint me. It was crazy, and I'm like, all right, I appreciate that. Now, don't get me wrong. They would call me. I was in Hawaii one time, right? And they called me, and it's like a 4-hour difference, I think. They would call me like 10 o'clock at night. I'm like, dude, but I had a woosah. I had a really woosah. Because I'm like, I'd rather you call me than not call me and mess things up, So I'm like, I got to answer the phone. I'm like, okay, hello? And, one of my guys like this, yo, I'm on a case, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, for me, it's so simple, like, okay, do this. But if they haven't experienced it, it's like, what do I do? So I had a woosah, wake up, understand the time difference, and like, okay, here you go. And I get on the phone with the sergeant, and I talk to him like that. I said, da. And he was like, and then my guy got back on the phone. He was like, this, I appreciate it. He never knew I'm in Hawaii, nor should he. Okay, if he calls me, him or she calls me, I need to do what? Be there to answer the damn phone, And it took a little bit. Now I was like, you understand what's up?
I think I've got a story from a case that not a case. It was a training session we did years ago in Marin at the Humane Officers Advanced Academy, and one part of the academy was crime scene investigation, and so placed about 20 gamecocks, all made up. They were cardboard cutouts that looked like fighting cocks, and so all of these birds lined up and staked out outside next to A-frame, little cardboard A-frames. So there were, I think, 7 or 8 members of our team for that particular crime scene. And they, as part of their assignment, they had to interview witness, get the information, and then execute a search warrant and document the crime scene. And so they did everything the way they were supposed to, and each of the 7 or 8 people that were part of that team were issued 35 millimeter cameras, and they would their job was to take pictures of the crime scene, including the gamecocks that were outside, and fill out paperwork for each one. And so my job at that point was really just to supervise how they were doing the whole crime scene, to grade them. So one of the girls that was involved in this crime scene was in charge of taking pictures of the gamecocks that were outside, and they had all been issued some rolls of film, and anyhow, we got through the whole day, and they had documented the crime scene, and all of a sudden she came up to me, and she's all bothered and worried, and she said, I just noticed the film that you gave us was 400 ASA, and my camera was set on 100 ASA. And, we're talking about film speed here for anybody that's...
Right. Go ahead.
Anyhow, she says, do I have to take pictures of those birds again? And I looked at her and I said, well, you get graded on, this goes to a mock trial. After we're done here, you're going to get graded on your photographs. And if your photographs don't come out, which they're not going to because you've got the wrong ASA on your camera, you better take those pictures again. And so she had to take those pictures again. And I told the Academy director, I said, I hated to have to make her go back out and take all those pictures again after everybody was done.
Mm-hmm.
But, I'll guarantee you that in the future, she will never
ever
get to check that camera again.
Ever.
So you won't screw up. And she was appreciative. So, it's those things, you don't have to be heavy-handed about it, but just go, it's your job to know these things. And if you want to go to court, with something is wrong, well, that's your choice. But if you want to go to court with something that you went back and corrected, then you're fine. You're still on the same crime scene. You haven't cleared it yet. You don't have to get any search warrant. Just take those pictures again, and you learn something. So I think that was a good story for her.
The one thing okay, so me to you. Well, hell, me to you. We're just going to be aired somewhere. Far as teaching photography, are you a straight automatic to manual, or are you a manual period?
Repeat that, please.
All right. So, say you're teaching photography, or would you teach the investigators to go automatic and then learn how to go manual, or are you manual from the beginning?
I don't teach them either. I let them know I want them to be proficient with whatever camera they're issued.
I like that. I like that.
I see, as you do, a wide variety of equipment out there for officers these days, and most officers have cameras on their phones.
Right.
And one thing I do tell them is, do not be taking crime scene photographs with your
personal
phone, because they're going to find some very embarrassing stuff.
Exactly.
That way. But regardless, if your agency issues you a phone with a camera, you can take as many pictures as you want with that, and they're going to come out as good as anything you'd get with a 35 millimeter SLR. Or if your company issues you a 35 millimeter camera, which is rare. I said everybody's got digital now.
Right.
But the bottom line is be proficient with what you're issued, and that means more than just taking pictures when you have to. That means on your free time, take that camera and practice photography. You don't have to go out and shoot every animal you see. Shoot flowers, shoot your family, shoot images of nature, whatever. Go to a car show. I don't care. But take pictures and try to achieve a certain outcome with those pictures so that you've got a wide variety of conditions. When you can count on diffuse light, for and how you want to line things up, how you can use the sun to your advantage in order to pick up shadows, to show a rib cage. Learn the difference between overall photos, medium photos, and close-ups. Learn how to fill up a frame.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Those kinds of. I tell you, when I review cases now for as part of as a consultant, and I get a pile of photographs from a police officer or an animal control officer, and I say that those are interchangeable because I see both. Mm-hmm. I see some awful photographs made by both professional police officers and ACOs, where there was a picture with a whole bunch of crap going on, and what am I supposed to focus on here?
Right.
nobody pointing out anything. Oh, well, it's that dog sitting in the, far left side of the deal. It's the size of a speck of sand. And I'm going, you know what? You got to fill up the frame.
When I did a class, photo who, photo what, and it's for me and you and anybody listening, it's about perception. You want to paint the picture to the jury. That's what you're thinking, or the judge if it's a bench. And the thing is, you want them to understand what they're seeing. So I'm always 4 deep. So I'm always overview, mid-range, close-up, and then I go macro later on. But I want to like paint the picture that I want them to understand and see. I want to paint the picture of the mailbox, paint the picture of the house, see what the street is, like that. So they're not there, but I want them to understand of being there, And a lot of people don't get it,
I want 360 degrees of photographs.
There you go.
I want a lands, something in the landscape that tells you where you are. That will be supported by any diagrams that you might draw, and that's supported by your narrative.
The thing is, I remember, I don't know, it was Merck, somebody, there was like, when I like now, it's such a habit to do it now. And I forgot, I taught a class this years ago, and somebody said, he's like, yo, that stuff you taught about the photographs worked. I said, I appreciate it. I'm so happy when they come back, Eric, later, and they're like this, yo, that worked, right? I'm like, yeah, I kind of knew that, but I'm happy you used it, and I actually laugh about it because I'll get an email here and there, and they're like, yo, dude, I'm like, what's up? They're like, you said do this, I did it, and I'm like, that's why you went to class, dumbass, what I'm saying? So I have a good time with it, but at the same time, and I show them my I show them my my mess up, stuff like that. And when we go with photography, I say good lighting, diffuse lighting, stuff like that. And I say this is how you work your phone or your camera. There's certain things is universal, and they're like, oh, for real? They're like, yeah. And then we just talk. I don't go shutter speed. I don't go aperture. I don't do none of that. Okay. I let you do that. I let you figure out, like you said, your camera and you figuring it out, right? But a lot of people come back and like, yo, this is the bomb. I'm like, I know, right? I know, and to see Eric, to see the glee, even if I can't see him, once it kind of hits, you're like, the aha moment, and it's so Dr. Merck got me on how to like focus on the body and how to work. I mean, how to really work my photos like that. And she told me, she told me so much, and I had to like, what? Okay. And me and Merck go way back. So I drove down to Florida one time, Eric, and it was like maybe 4.5 hours to hear one thing, right? And I drove all the way back, and I took a lunch because I always take a lunch, and it was like, and the one thing so I call her and say, hey, I got a question, and she will make me work through whatever the question is for me to figure it out before she answers. She knows the answer, damn it, okay? But she'll make me work, and I'm like, I don't know it, Mom. Just tell me, And then finally, I almost figure it out. She's like, okay, there you go. I was like, you could have just told me that. She's like, yeah, but you wouldn't have figured it out. You know what I'm saying?
That's Melinda.
Yeah,
That is.
And I love her so much. She's about to go on my boys Dan editor. They got a Humane Roundup podcast. She's gonna go there in a few weeks. But I'm gonna try to get on mine. Hey man, I appreciate your time. I'll go hold you up, in the morning. I appreciate you, man. Oh, last question. Are you a dog or cat person, and why?
Well, I've had both, and I've got one right now. Probably more dog than cat. I like cats. My favorite cat was my last cat, and I found him in a swamp many years ago. He lived to be 19.
Wow.
And he was a tuxedo cat, but I found him when he was just about the size of the palm of your hand. I was over doing a shelter, not a shelter, it was a pound inspection, and there was a swamp outside, and the pound only accepted dogs, so people would just dump their cats down at this place, and there was a swamp outside, and I heard this mewing when I was there, and I went down and found this little ball of fur, black and white, and took it back with me to the hotel room, and I got in a little cardboard tray and in it, got him some food. Next morning, he was curled up inside one of my shoes, and I took him home, and because he was black and white, he looked like a pair of Converse.
What was his name?
And sneakers.
I love it.
Yeah, I had him for years, and he was just personality plus as far as cats go. Got along great with the dogs, and just a wonderful cat. And I was very dismayed when he passed away. But I've also had some dogs that were just, I hope I see him again someday.
Yeah.
Yeah. All of them came from shelters.
Yeah, so. I'm the same way. I have two cats now. I have Setmet and I have Khonshu. And the Egyptian names. And I got one from the shelter up here, and the other one I inherited. But it's cats are different. Cats are a different thing. My dog. No more dogs. After my what was his name? It's hard. What was his name? Was it Max? No, it wasn't Max. It was I call him the crackhead. It was a min pin. And he would just run around in circles and chase himself, stuff like that. He was a crackhead. I loved him to death. And everything. But I came home and he just died, and it was all of a sudden. And I was like, it was I never had that, So I was like messed up, for like about 3 weeks. Not like distraught, but I would come home and look for him and call him. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And then that was wild. I was like, what in the hell? And then about 3 weeks after that, I was like, okay, no more dogs. It took a toll on me. But cats, cats are different. They want to be messed with, and then they don't.
Yeah. I used my pets often as models for some of the artwork and cartoons that I did. I don't know if you remember or not, but you remember Animal Sheltering magazine, right?
Yeah.
I used to do a lot of the cartoons, they were all ACO-oriented type cartoons. So
yeah. Because I think I have one or two. One or two. It's in the shelter now, which is crazy because that's been a minute ago. That's been a minute, man. Wow, you going back, bro? You going back?
Oh yeah. I'll gather up some and
put it on Facebook.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we want to wrap it up. This is the great Eric Sakach, formerly and retired from HSUS, extraordinary investigator, educator, teacher, instructor. I had the great pleasure of meeting him in face-to-face a few years back, and it's been a joy, and it's going to be, the lawnmower edition. It would be... I thought, what the heck is this? You know how it is.
The weed eater edition.
Hey, brother, I appreciate you waking up early, man.
The pleasure is all mine, sir.
All right. Anytime, hit me back and give me a shout with that T-shirt. I'll holler back at you, brother.
All right, Kevin. Take care.
Take it easy. And that's a wrap. Greatly appreciate everybody tuning in. It was a pleasure. You know, I always have fun talking my stories and all that good stuff. So again, tune in to dfutcs.com. Don't F up the crime scene. Holler back at you guys later.